My name is Caleb Harrington. I'm 28, originally from a small town outside Toronto, though these days I live in a cluttered flat in downtown Vancouver, balancing spreadsheets by day and a half-empty journal by night. This is the story I've never told anyone. I call it My Friend's Fiancé Came Home Crying and Called Me Husband. I should warn you, it's messy, heart-achingly messy. It began on a Thursday, the sort of Thursday that feels ordinary until it isn't. The office was humming with the low drone of printers and quiet keyboard clicks. I sat at my desk, head bent over a budget forecast, when the elevator dinged and a wave of familiar perfume hit me. I looked up. There she was, Claire, my friend Thomas's fiancée. She looked off. Her usually precise auburn hair fell in soft, chaotic waves around her face, and her eyes, the color of late summer rain, were rimmed red. "Caleb?" she asked softly. Her voice trembled, fragile and unsteady. I froze. "Claire, hey, are you okay?" She shook her head, taking a step closer. "I need to talk to you. Alone." There was something in her expression that made the blood drain from my face. "Alone? In the office? After hours? I can't just leave," I stammered. "People are. They're not here." She glanced around, voice barely above a whisper. "Please, just for a few minutes." We ended up in the small conference room near the back. I sat across from her, watching her hands twist nervously in her lap. The fluorescent lights flickered above us, casting shadows that seemed to stretch longer than they should. Then she said it. "Caleb, I don't know why I'm saying this, but I need you." Her words hit me like a brick. My first thought was Thomas, my friend. And then, even before I could respond, she blurted out something that froze time. I can't face him tonight. I can't go home. Not after what happened." I wanted to ask what happened. I wanted to reach across the table and hold her hand. But instead, I swallowed hard and tried to keep my voice steady. "Claire, you're scaring me. Please talk to me. What happened?" Her lip trembled. And then, as if the words were torn from somewhere deep inside, she whispered, "Call me your wife." I blinked. My stomach flipped. "What?" Just for tonight," she said, her voice breaking. "Say it, please." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My brain screamed at me to stop this. Thomas, my friend, her fiancé, but the raw pain in her eyes, it was magnetic, irresistible in a way I never expected. Claire, I can't." My words faltered. "Please, Caleb, just call me your wife. Just this once. Just so I can feel safe. Just for tonight." I hesitated. I felt trapped in a tide I couldn't fight. And then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, I said, "You're my wife." Her shoulders slumped, a quiet shudder running through her, as if the air itself had been holding her up and I just released it. The office lights seemed too bright, the walls too close. We sat in silence, my heart hammering so loudly I was sure she could hear it. "Why are you crying?" I asked finally, my voice soft, careful. I thought I loved him. I thought it was forever. But tonight," she shook her head violently. "Tonight, I realized I'm so lonely, Caleb, so unbearably lonely. And I don't know what to do." I wanted to tell her that love wasn't supposed to feel like this, that she deserved better than heartbreak masquerading as attachment. But the words stuck somewhere between my chest and my throat. Instead, I reached across the table and held her hands. They were warm, trembling, and in that moment, for reasons I still don't fully understand, I became her anchor. "Claire, stay with me tonight," I whispered. She nodded, tears spilling over and onto her palms. I can't stay at his place. I can't." The truth of her words hung between us. I knew what we were about to do teetered on dangerous ground, morally, emotionally. But the pull was undeniable, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. And that's how it began. That night, we didn't speak much. We sat on my couch, the room dim except for the city lights spilling through the blinds. Claire leaned into me, and for the first time, I felt her entire being, frightened, fractured, and raw. Trust me completely. It was intoxicating. She spoke eventually, in whispers barely audible above the hum of traffic below. Why are you here? She asked. I don't know, I admitted. I shouldn't be, but I am, and I want to help you. Somehow. You can't, she said, her voice breaking. You shouldn't. You're his friend. You don't know how much I hate myself right now. I don't care, I said, almost too loudly. The words surprised even me. I don't care who you were supposed to be with. I care about who you are, right now. And in that moment, she looked at me with a vulnerability so profound it made my chest ache. I didn't know where this was going. I didn't know how we could navigate the chaos without destroying ourselves. But I knew one thing. I had never felt so alive. The city outside blurred into an abstract haze of neon and rain. Time seemed suspended, the world reduced to two trembling souls, seeking refuge in each other. I remember thinking then, this is dangerous, this is wrong, but also, this is inevitable. By the time she left that night, the first light of dawn bleeding through the window, neither of us spoke of what had happened. We didn't even look at each other. But in the quiet space between us, an unspoken understanding lingered, an electric tension that promised the impossible. That was part one, the start of something I couldn't yet name, but would haunt me for months to come. The days after that night were unbearable in ways I hadn't anticipated. The office seemed suffocating, the fluorescent lights harsher than ever. I kept my distance from Claire, pretending everything was normal, but inside, I was unraveling. Every time the elevator doors opened, I felt a jolt of panic, half expecting to see her standing there, trembling, and calling me husband again. Work was a minefield. Thomas, oblivious to anything amiss, kept joking about weekend plans and wedding details. I laughed along, though each word felt like a lie sliding off my tongue. I wanted to warn him. I wanted to confess everything, but the thought of destroying my friend, or betraying Claire, kept me silent. One Thursday, the office was quieter than usual. Claire arrived late, slipping in with that same fragile aura. Our eyes met for the briefest moment and I almost called out to her, but didn't. I watched her from my desk, noting the subtle tension in her shoulders, the way her hands fidgeted with her phone. She was still hurting, I could tell. And worse, she was alone with her pain again. By mid-afternoon, the quiet became unbearable. I found myself in the kitchen, brewing coffee, and there she was, leaning against the counter, her gaze distant, voice barely audible. Caleb, she said, almost a plea. Can we talk? I felt the weight in my chest. Claire, I know, she interrupted. I know we shouldn't, but just for a minute, just for a moment. I need someone to see me. I followed her to the rooftop terrace. The city sprawled around us, a glittering labyrinth of lights and shadows. It should have felt romantic, cinematic even, but the tension between us was heavy with unspoken guilt. Last night, she began, voice breaking. I felt alive, but then I felt guilty. So much guilt. You don't have to feel guilty for needing comfort, I said softly. We all do, but you can't run from your life, Claire. Thomas, he loves you. She shook her head, tears glimmering in the streetlight. Do you? Really? The words caught me off guard. My throat tightened. I do care about you, more than I should. I shouldn't, Claire, but I do. She laughed, a soft, bitter sound. You make it sound so simple. It's not. It's so messy. My family, they'll never forgive me if they knew. Thomas, he's perfect in his own way, but I can't breathe around him. You make me feel like I can. Her eyes searched mine, desperate, as though trying to etch me into memory. And in that moment, I realized how dangerously entangled we had become. Claire, you need to think, I whispered. You need to figure out what you really want. Not for me, not for Thomas, but for you. She stepped closer, and for a heartbeat, the world narrowed to the space between us. I could see her heart in her eyes, raw and unguarded. Then, just as quickly, she stepped back, shaking her head. I can't. I can't think straight, she admitted. I don't even know what love is anymore. We stayed there, silent, watching the city hum below. The suspense of unspoken words, of choices deferred, was suffocating. That night, she came to my apartment again. This time, there was no pretense of fleeting comfort. She was crying openly, and I held her as if I could shield her from every hurt in the world. I can't face him tonight, she whispered. I need you to. Just call me your wife. I hesitated. The moral line loomed before me, but the ache in her voice broke every barrier I had left. You're my wife, I said, barely a whisper. She collapsed against me, trembling, sobbing, and in that moment, the line between right and wrong didn't exist. We were just two flawed humans, clinging to each other in the chaos of love and loss. But as dawn approached, reality returned with cruel clarity. The phone rang. Thomas. My heart sank. I could feel Claire stiffen beside me. I have to, I whispered. You have to face him. I can't keep doing this. She nodded, wiping her tears. I know. I'll go home, but not tonight. Not until Her voice trailed off. I didn't ask the rest. Some things don't need to be spoken aloud to be understood. The next morning, everything at work was tense. Claire acted normal, too normal. Thomas remained oblivious, cheerfully talking about honeymoon plans. And me? I couldn't focus. Every spreadsheet, every email, felt meaningless compared to the memory of her in my arms. Days turned into weeks. We danced around each other in public, smiles and polite greetings masking the storm between us. But every stolen glance, every accidental touch, reminded us both that nothing was settled. Then came the email. From Claire. No subject, just her name. My hands shook as I opened it. Caleb, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep pretending I'm okay when I'm not. I need time. Away from everything. Away from him. Away from you. I don't know when I'll be back. Please, don't follow me. I need to figure out who I am without this chaos. I read it 3 times. For my chest ached, and I realized that love, as intoxicating as it was, came with a cost. I had never felt so powerless. And then, as if the universe was mocking me, she returned. 2 months later, crying on my doorstep. But that's a story for the next part. She appeared on my doorstep late one rainy evening. The sky was a slate gray, and the city smelled of wet asphalt and neon reflections. My heart sank when I saw her. Claire, drenched, mascara running in thin rivulets down her cheeks, trembling. Caleb? She whispered, her voice raw, almost breaking. Claire? I said, rushing to the door, umbrella forgotten. What happened? Where have you been? She stepped inside without answering, shivering. I led her to the couch, grabbed a towel, and let her wrap herself in it. She buried her face against my shoulder, sobbing silently. I held her tight, feeling the weight of every unspoken emotion between us. The longing, the guilt, the fear. And then she spoke, her voice shaking. I can't stay with him anymore. I tried, Caleb. I really tried. But every time I looked at him, I realized I was pretending. And tonight I just couldn't lie to him one more second. My chest tightened. I had known this day would come, but knowing and experiencing were 2 entirely different things. Claire, I said softly, you don't have to do anything you're not ready for. Not yet. Just breathe. She lifted her head, eyes glistening. She hesitated. I came to you because I need you to hear me. I need you to know it wasn't him. It was me. And her voice faltered. And when I came home crying, I called you husband. I don't know why. I needed someone to be there. Someone who understood me. I swallowed hard. You don't have to explain that to me. She shook her head, burying her face in my shoulder again. I do. I have to. You deserve to know. I've never said it out loud. Not to Thomas. Not to anyone. She paused, trembling. I love you, Caleb. I think I have for months, and I hate myself for it. but I can't ignore it anymore. Time froze. The room seemed smaller, the storm outside a distant echo. I felt every heartbeat, every tremor of hers, and I realized something undeniable. I loved her too. I had loved her the moment she first cried in my arms, the moment she whispered my name, the moment she let herself be completely vulnerable with me. "I love you too," I whispered, and in that instant the world shifted. The guilt, the fear, the chaos. They all remained, but we didn't care. We were two flawed souls, desperately seeking a haven in each other, and we had found it. Over the next few weeks, the aftermath was messy. Thomas eventually found out, not from us, but through the cruel inevitability of the truth unraveling. He was hurt, of course, devastated even, but somehow he also understood. We had all grown up in ways none of us could have anticipated. Family tensions flared, friendships strained. Yet in the middle of the chaos, Claire and I found something rare. An unshakable intimacy born from pain, vulnerability, and raw honesty. The suspense didn't vanish overnight. Every encounter, every glance, carried echoes of what had happened. The secret moments, the unspoken confessions. But slowly, carefully, we built a life that balanced love with reality. One night, months later, we stood on that same rooftop terrace where we had confronted our first truth. The city sprawled below, glittering and alive. Claire leaned against me, her fingers entwined with mine. "I was so scared back then," she admitted softly. "Scared of losing everything, of losing myself." "You didn't lose yourself," I said, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You found the courage to be honest, to face your feelings, and somehow, we survived it together." She smiled, fragile but radiant. Together, I held her close, feeling the pulse of life between us, the imperfect, messy, and exquisite reality of love. And in that moment, I realized something deeply personal. Life doesn't wait for perfect timing, clean choices, or morally straightforward paths. Life comes in storms, in heartbreaks, in confessions whispered in the dark. And it's in those moments, chaotic and terrifying, that we find the truest parts of ourselves. Love is messy, pain is messy, and yet, when we dare to embrace the uncertainty, when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we discover that the human heart is capable of more resilience, more depth, and more beauty than we ever imagined. That night, holding her in my arms, I understood. Some stories are never meant for the world. They are meant for us alone, scarred, messy, and unforgettable. And perhaps that is the point. Perhaps life's deepest lessons are the ones that leave their mark quietly, tenderly, inside the soul, long after the chaos has passed. This is the story I've never told anyone. But now, having lived it, I know love, real, terrifying, consuming love, is always worth the risk.